Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to talk about a piece of tech that's designed to be your business's ultimate safety net. It really boils down to one simple question. If your main site went down right now, could you keep going? We're diving deep into architecting resilience and specifically a tool called vSphere Replication.
So, let's start with that question. Is your business data actually safe right this second? You might think so, but the truth is, things happen. A backhoe could slice through a fiber line, a storm could take out the power grid, heck, a server could just decide it's had enough. Any of these things, and poof, everything you've built is at risk. That threat of massive data loss, it's always there.
And when disaster does strike, what are we really talking about? It's way more than just lost files, right? Your entire operation can just stop. Every minute you're down, you're bleeding revenue. And maybe worst of all, your reputation takes a huge hit. Trust me, the real cost of an outage is always higher than you expect.
Okay, so how in the world do you protect yourself against all that? Well, that's exactly where this digital safety net comes into play. Let's introduce VMware vSphere Replication. It's a tool that was built from the ground up to solve this very problem.
All right, so what is this thing really? Let's cut through the jargon. At its heart, vSphere Replication is like a super smart, super efficient copy machine for your virtual servers. It works right at the hypervisor level. The foundation that runs all your VMs. And its whole job is to keep a perfect, ready-to-go copy of your machines at a totally separate location. A digital escape pod, if you will.
So how does it actually pull this off? You might think it's magic, but it's really just a super logical and efficient process. Let's walk through the steps behind this data protection. First up, you have the initial sync. It's pretty straightforward. It makes a full, complete copy of your virtual machine and sends it over to your recovery site. But after that initial heavy lift, it gets really clever. It moves into delta tracking, which is just a fancy way of saying it watches for any changes, no matter how small. Then, with incremental replication, it only sends those tiny changes across the wire. And all of this builds up to the most important part, recovery. You've got a hot standby ready to fire up whenever you need it.
Now that idea of deltas is the secret sauce here. It's what makes the whole thing so efficient. Think about it this way. If you edit one sentence in a 1,000-page book, you wouldn't send the entire book again, right? You just send the changed sentence. That's exactly what deltas are. It's only sending the changed words, not the whole book every single time. And that's why it's so incredibly lightweight on your network.
And this has a massive real-world benefit. Because it's happening at that fundamental hypervisor level and only sending those little deltas, it barely sips bandwidth. This makes it amazing for replicating over your WAN links, the connections between your sites. It's just not going to clog up your network, which is frankly a huge deal.
Okay, so we've got the how. Now let's talk about the what. What can you actually do with this? Let's open up the Recovery Toolkit and look at the features that really put you in the driver's seat.
When it comes to disaster recovery, job number one is simple. Lose as little data as humanly possible. And there's a term for this, the Recovery Point Objective, or RPO. It really just answers a critical question. If the worst happens, how much data are we okay with losing?
Well, with vSphere Replication, you can get that number all the way down to just 5 minutes. Yep, you heard that right. For your absolute most critical apps, you can dial it in so that in a total disaster, you lose no more than 5 minutes of data. That is a game changer. And what's so powerful is that you get to choose. Because let's be real, not every server is a top priority, right? Your protection shouldn't be one size fits all. So you can give that critical database a super aggressive 5-minute RPO, but maybe your web server is fine with a 4-hour one. And that dev server, 24 hours is probably fine. It's this granular, per VM control that makes the whole strategy so smart and cost-effective.
Okay, another huge win here is flexibility. A lot of the old school replication tools were picky. They were storage dependent, which basically means they forced you to buy specific and usually super expensive storage hardware. vSphere Replication, it couldn't care less. It's totally storage flexible. It'll work with the vSAN, SAN, NAS, or even the local storage you already have. No vendor lock-in. That's huge.
And the toolkit has even more goodies. You've got point-in-time snapshots, which are awesome. This lets you rewind a machine not just to the last copy, but to how it was yesterday or last week. Think about recovering from something nasty like ransomware. This is your ticket. And the best part? You manage the whole shebang right from the vSphere client you already live in every day. No new software to learn. And this all leads to the final piece of the puzzle, using this as the engine for full-blown automation.
Right, because look, just having a copy of your data somewhere is good. It's a great start. But the real holy grail? That's a fully automated one-click recovery plan. This is where we level up from just replicating data to building true automated resilience.
And this is a really key point to get. vSphere Replication is the engine, it's the workhorse that handles the what. It does the heavy lifting of copying the data. But then it plugs into VMware Site Recovery Manager, or SRM. And SRM handles the how. It's the brains of the operation, orchestrating the entire recovery, telling servers when to turn on and in what order, handling all the network changes. It automates everything.
So you can really see the journey here. It all starts with that solid foundation of data replication, which is vSphere Replication's job. Then you layer on the intelligence, the failover orchestration, with SRM. And when you put those two together, you get the ultimate prize, a completely automated, reliable, and, this is key, testable site recovery plan.
So, that leaves us with one final thought. Look, you can't predict when disaster will strike. That's just a fact. But what we've talked about today shows that you can absolutely 100% prepare for it. So the only question left is, are you?